We went. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first live stream of the Football Guys Championship. $350,000 on the line tonight. First time we're doing this on the Football Guys YouTube channel. Really excited to be here tonight. My name is Greg Ambrosius. I'm the founder of the nffc. Tom Kesenick, he's been with me all 20 years of the nffc. And of course, you know, Sigmund Bloom. How you doing, Sigmund, tonight?
Great. Last week really got the juices flowing. And I feel like if you're engaged, look, if it's Friday night and you're part of this stream, then you will get a lot out of this because there's one thing looking at ADP and thinking about how you plan out your draft. But when you watch a draft unfold in real time, there should be like, the exclamation mark above your head, like, oh, wow, if I was in this draft, I would be feeling really good right now. Or if I was in this draft, I better come up with another plan for my second round pick if I draw the seventh pick. So it really gives you those reps. And I'm excited because I think that every time we do one of these, we get smarter.
Yeah, absolutely. 12 teams, 20 rounds, straight serpentine. We pay the top 3 in each league. The top 4 in each league make the league playoffs, and the top 3 in each league make the championship round for a shot at $250,000. The best thing about it, Tom, we know it. Weeks 15 to 17 is the league playoffs. No bye weeks in week 13 when you're still going for a league championship, right? So this is great. League playoffs, weeks 15 to 17. Overall playoffs, weeks 15 to 17.
Yeah, and again, like Sigmund was saying, a lot of fun ways to build your rosters with no third round reversal like we have in our NFFC. So $350,000 on the line tonight. Going to be a lot of fun to watch the roster construction and the way Football Guys has set this up with no kickers. An added flex spot, going to make it even more fun. And the one thing that we like to do with our live streams, Greg, that we've done the last couple of years in the NFFC is watch these roster builds to see the different ways that people are constructing their rosters to make the run at these big money grand prizes, because there are a variety of ways that you can make to build your rosters, to build and make the chase for these big money grand prizes. You don't just have to start off a certain way. Everybody can do it differently, and that's what we're going to be identifying tonight.
Absolutely. We're going to look at the roster builds. And this year, the first round is wide open. You can build your roster any way, lots of different ways. Used to be running back, right? Well, that's not the case anymore. And as you can see, the drafters are ready to make their picks. We've started out with Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Christian McCaffrey, Travis Kelce, and then Austin Eckler. And Tom, these top 2 guys are going almost all the time. McCaffrey seems to go top 4. Kelce seems to go top 4, top 5. Eckler, top 5. Maybe the draft starts right here. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, those are pretty much your top 3 guys in different orders. Jefferson, I'm not sure if he's going to be the consensus guy, but he certainly is going number 1 overall most of the time. And then Chase and McCaffrey. Kelce certainly locked in as a top 4 to 5 pick. But yeah, I think maybe pick 5 is where the draft is going to start more often than not. And Austin Eckler is back up there. I think, we've talked about this. I think people feeling more comfortable with him now that he is certainly with the Chargers, having that contract, and this may be his final season with the Chargers.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Tyreek Hill goes 6, Cooper Kupp 7, Stephon Diggs 8, and now Jonathan Taylor 9. Sigmund, we talked about Jonathan Taylor last week. He did fall into the second round. We were like, come on, what's going on here, right?
Yeah, and what's interesting about both him and Diggs, we had news on Diggs, just a little blip of, maybe not everything is great in paradise there. And then with Jonathan Taylor, he's not participating in OTAs. The hope is he'll be ready for training camp. That isn't necessarily what I was expecting at the end of the year last year. So it doesn't seem like, at least with this draft, that's affecting their ADP. But I think that, again, this is the time of year that we're just making little sticky note tabs. Okay, I'm going to watch this. If Jonathan Taylor isn't ready to start training camp after saying they hope he will be, he hopes he will be, then it's going to be interesting to watch if the ADP moves. But for now, pretty static.
Yeah, so he did have some ankle surgery at the end of last year, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I hope in the sense that it would be very bad, because we've seen some of these situations where players will say, I'm going to just have an off season of rest. I don't want to have surgery. And I understand not wanting to have surgery. But then if it's not responding the way, I think Sidney Rice comes to mind when he was with the Vikings. There was a situation where he was just going to rest, and then come June, July, it wasn't responding. So and I think teams are tighter and tighter about injury information now. So I think that all we can do is say, I have to monitor this, but still, even at the number 9 pick, when you look at the injury discount from the number 1 or 2 overall pick last year, and Shane Steichen, Anthony Richardson, this offense getting better than what they had last year, I'll still take that discount with the uncertainty.
Yeah, absolutely. A.J. Brown goes at 10, Bijan Robinson at 11, and now Saquon Barkley at 12. Tom, this is 5 running backs in the first round. I mean, we did the RotoWire Online Championship on our SiriusXM show or actually it was a Footballguys Championship on our SiriusXM show on Wednesday, and only 3 running backs went in the first round. So not old school, but getting a little more running backs here, right?
Yeah, and I think we will see more running backs going up and going higher as we get closer to the start of the season. It certainly won't surprise me to see Barkley up there, and I think we will see Taylor, assuming everything checks out with the ankle. I think he will move up as well once we get closer to the start of the season.
All right, CD Lamb has been a first round pick most of the season so far. He falls to number 14. So Robinson and Lamb isn't a bad start there.
Oh,
Right? What do you think, Sigmund?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's almost ideal. I think if you draw number 11, we saw Lamb in the draft we did last Friday, fellas. What did he go, like 8 or 9, I think. So, and I have fewer questions about him than Devontae Adams, who might be catching balls from Brian Hoyer for part of Aiden O'Connell, right? A.J. Brown, I think everything went great with A.J. Brown last year, but there's still the injury risk that follows him, again, with Stephon Diggs. And there's a lot of new mouths to feed in that Buffalo offense. Cooper Kupp, the Rams, do I really trust that offense? CeeDee Lamb, I feel like, has the most stable situation around him of these receivers that go around the 1-2 turn.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, I was just looking at Mahomes last Friday. He went 10th overall. Here he goes 16th overall. Tom, we've seen quarterbacks going in the first round in our best ball drafts, obviously, right? Some of the RotoWire Online Championships, Mahomes will go first. Hurts will go in the second round, early second round. What do you think? Do you think the quarterbacks will be overplayed here, underplayed? What do you think?
Well, Mahomes' ADP in the football guys right now is right around the 1-2 turn. It's right about 12. So this is a little bit later. There goes Josh Allen off the board. So no, I do think we're going to see the quarterbacks go, where they tip the top quarterbacks. I think those top guys are going to go where they've been going, which is, the early guys are going to go in the second roundish there. And then there's going to be a bit of a drop, and then you're going to see the next tier go off the board. So I think it's the form's going to hold the way we've seen it so far. I just think that's the trend this year. And I don't think that's going to break all drafting season long.
So Sigmund, teammate took Diggs, and then he took Allen. So he wanted to double up there. This is kind of like a stack, if you will, right? And not a bad stack to have. But I think this owner came into this draft thinking, I'm going to start out with this stack of Diggs and Allen.
Yeah, I think that's something that you can pull off. And I think that we know that this is a team, an offense that can perform in cold weather. So we're not so worried about that in December. And this is a connection that when it's on can win a week for you. So I think that in the big field contest where you have to be not just best out of 12 teams, but best out of thousands of teams, it makes sense that if that connection can come through for you and carry you, maybe it won't be Billy Volek to Drew Bennett, but maybe it can come close.
Yeah, and you can do this one, the Diggs Allen one. Tom, you can also do the Chase Burrow one, and I've talked about that. I'm surprised I haven't seen as many Chase Burrow ones in our online championships, in the Football Guide Championship so far. Maybe we'll see it tonight from Team 2. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, that's one I'd be chasing. I mean, certainly the Diggs Allen one I like, but yeah, the Chase Burrow one, because you're not paying for Burrow in the second round like you are with Josh Allen. So I think, Burrow you can get, a couple of rounds later. That's one I'd certainly be targeting if I got Jamar Chase there, with the top 3 pick.
All right, Amon St. Brown goes 15th. We got Garrett Wilson now at, 18th, I think, and Devonta Smith at 19. Now we got Breece Hall at 20. Thoughts, Sigmund, on Breece Hall coming off injury here?
Yeah, this is a lot higher than we saw last week, right, guys? I think he was more of a mid-third. I think there's some more injury skepticism. And then the only item this week did indicate, I can't remember which beat writer it was, that, hey, it might be a ramp up for Breece Hall. But again, in a big field contest, in a contest where those November, December weeks matter the most, perhaps if you can just get through that. But if you had a plan, well, I can wait at running back because I can get Breece Hall in the third. I think this draft's already showing you better have a backup plan.
Yeah, absolutely. Interesting. Yeah, Hall went 25th last time. So I'm looking over at our comments. We got a lot of people in the comment section over there, Sigmund. I'll take a look at them in a little bit and let
Yeah.
people know. But welcome to
Oh,
everybody watching this. And this is going to be a regular thing here, I think, on the YouTube channel for Football Guys. Let's see some draft results. All right. Team 2, Tom, went with Olave. Did not go with Burrow. He's got another chance here. Hurts goes at pick 24. Solid pick. There's 3 quarterbacks in the top 24 picks. Again, like you said, I think we will see those 3 quarterbacks, and team 2 does not double up on Burrow. So nothing wrong with Olave and Chubb, but he doesn't want to go with the stack of Burrow and Chase. Thoughts?
I think you can hold off on and get Burrow. Maybe we'll see what happens. I think, but Burrow could be there in the fourth round if he wants to hold off on that. But yeah, nothing wrong with Chris Olave, who's certainly a top wide receiver. Coming back. We'll see about Nick Chubb. Sigmund, I want to get your thoughts
Yeah.
about Nick Chubb. We may have talked about him.
Sure.
We've talked about him, I know, on our live streams in the past. Derek and I have talked about him. Nick Chubb's just one of those guys. He's certainly supremely talented. There's no doubt about that. But you kind of draft him and you feel good about it, but you don't feel great about it because he just doesn't have that role in the running game that you really want an upper echelon running back to have. What are your thoughts about Nick Chubb?
Well, I think all of our Cleveland players, we can kind of lump together under one take and say there's still a lot of skepticism after how Deshaun Watson played down the stretch, and the ADPs reflect that. And again, with Chubb, I think I might have mentioned this last week, he fell to the 3rd round in drafts last year. A month, 2 months into the season, it felt like, wow, that was a big mistake. Why did everybody take Nick Chubb and let him fall, even though it wasn't in great situations when he was earning that late first, early second round ADP that he was having year in, year out. And I was honestly surprised to see that Nick Chubb is still falling to the 3rd round. So whether it's Nick Chubb or Deshaun Watson or probably Amari, we thinking to DeAndre Hopkins, Patriots, probably. I know it's not a done deal, but there's a lot of positivity around it. So Amari Cooper, David Njoku, there's a lot of talk that this offense is going to be Deshaun Watson centric and a full offseason and not a lot of controversy or distraction this offseason. All of these Browns could be hits. And I think that we might look at those last 6 weeks that Deshaun Watson played as a red herring and something that threw us off the trail of an offense that is about to take the next step and throw Elijah Moore in there too.
Interesting. Okay, last week we only had 6 running backs go in the first 2 rounds, first 24 picks. We got 7 this week. Not much better, but we got 7. Now we've got some running backs going right here. Let's look at the roster builds in the first 2 rounds. Once again, this is the second week in a row. Just one team went running back, right? That was team 5, and he's going all in with Eckler, Hall, and Henry. And Sigmund, let's talk about the
Yeah.
roster construction in the Football Guys Championship,
Right.
because you get 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, and then 2 flex. So you could go 2 running backs, 5 wide receivers. You could go 4 running backs, 3 wide receivers. There's so many different ways to build a winning roster in this contest, right?
Yeah, there are. And I think that veterans of the classic PPR 3 wide receivers and 1 flex build, they know that if you can stack wide receivers so that you're starting a top 3 or top 36 wide receiver in your flex, you're getting more stability out of that flex spot than other teams are getting. Now, if you add that in 2 times, it's going to make these 3 running back builds. Now, granted, in this particular case, Derrick Henry is a compelling enough running back to say, you know what, I'm going to go running back to start because he can be the best flex in the league. But I think teams that can start 5 wide receivers a week might have an advantage over teams that are trying to do a build where they expect to start 3 or 4 wide receivers, because we all know it's hard to find 1 tight end that you'll start. It's hard to find 2 running backs that you'll start. Wide receiver seems to be the deepest position.
Yeah, definitely. Lots of different ways to build a roster. All right, we're through round 3 right now. So Joe Burrow last week went 53rd. Again, I said that was the lowest that we had not only in the Football Guys, but in the RotoWire Online Championship by far. He goes 34 here right now. So we had through 3 rounds, 1 team went 3 running backs, 1 team went 3 wide receivers. Everybody else with a little mix. So again, a lot of different ways to build your rosters. And as you look at team 12, he starts out with Barkley and then goes 3 wide receivers right there. Tom, we talked about that on our show on Wednesday night on Sirius XM. Team 12 did the exact same thing. Got Bijan at 12 and then went heavy with wide receivers, right? Same thing Team 12 is doing right now.
Yeah, and I think Team 3 might do the same thing. We'll see what he does with his next pick coming way back after McCaffrey. But I think, you get a really good running back. That may be the way to go, right? 'Cause like Sigmund said, you can start so many wide receivers. That's where the consistent production can come from. So if you've got that one stable running back that you feel good about, load up at wide receiver, get those 15 to 20 point per game guys, and just hammer away at the wide receiver position. That may be the way you want to build your rosters, and Barkley certainly can be that guy, that foundation running back. There's no real reason to chase other running backs if you're feeling good about that one guy you got.
Yeah. So Alan's asking which team is Sigmund's team. Hey, we're not in this draft. We're just analyzing this one, right, Sigmund?
Yeah, I think that that's more than enough food for thought. But we will always share what we like, and you'll probably get a pretty good idea of what one of our teams would look like. But I want to also echo I think the quality of the anchor, the hero running back build, and then going with wide receivers or even getting a top end quarterback or tight end, because I think we can all count on, with our acumen, if you're entering a high stakes contest, that you can find a running back along the way. You're giving yourself almost 3 months really to find a running back that's going to be hot for the playoffs, whether it's someone you draft, someone you stash. You can make that work. And I think that by only taking one early running back, you allow yourself to benefit or profit from your fantasy football abilities.
Yeah, definitely. Tom, O Genius is saying Judy before Ridley is insane. I know we both like Judy an awful lot. What do you go 30th overall here? Ridley goes 38th. Would you take Judy over Ridley?
It's a coin flip for me. We actually had this question on our Sirius show a few weeks back. Derek and I were debating it. It's a coin flip for me. I love both these guys. I'm all in on both of them. If I was doing 10 drafts, I'd probably split it up 5 and 5.
Yeah.
If I was only doing one draft, that's a much harder decision for me. It really is. I might lean Ridley over Judy slightly, but it's real close. I mean, look how good Judy was with Russell Wilson being an abomination last year.
Yeah.
That's how good Jerry Jeudy is. So if Wilson's even slightly better this season, Judy's upside's immense. And I just think Ridley is so talented. And without the burden of having to be the guy in Jacksonville, I think he's got immense upside. So Ridley maybe slightly over Jeudy, but it's close.
Yeah, I like Judy myself, but they're both very, very good. But for me, it would be Judy right now. Okay, let's look at round 4 here. I mean, with pick 36 at the end of round 3, you got Keenan Allen, then Debo Samuel, Ridley, McLaurin, Cooper, London, Lockett, Hopkins. I mean, this is a good round for wide receivers. And Sigmund, we talked about Hopkins last week. He goes what here now? 45th, I think. A little lower than he went last week.
Yeah, and that's more rational. I wasn't really understanding why his ADP didn't budge after he was released. It's not ever, guys, is it ever a good thing when a player gets released? That can't be a good thing. To just treat it as a neutral thing, I even thought. So going after some of these guys, players with upside like London, like Ridley, players that are proven in good offenses like Allen and Samuel, that makes more sense to me. And I think you can really start to simulate, okay, I don't know if anyone has set odds yet on where Hopkins is going to land, but I do think the fact that the Patriots got almost to the front of the line, although apparently the Titans were still talking to him, and the fact that everybody was excited about it except for Devontae Parker, I think. I don't understand why he wouldn't be excited about it. So you start to project, okay, how early would I take Hopkins, the Patriot? And then could it possibly get better than that? I don't know. So I think that this makes more sense. I think we can look through all of these receivers and express some uncertainty about how things are going to turn out for them. So he belongs in that mix, but I think at the end of it makes more sense.
Yeah, okay. Round 4 is a pass catcher's delight there. You got 2 tight ends, Mark Andrews and TJ Hawkinson goes at 47. You've got 8 other wide receivers and then only 2 running backs. But Tom, these are 2 good running backs in round 4. So if you did go heavy on wide receivers, man, Aaron Jones at what do we got here? 36 is 42, and then Jamar Gibbs at 46, and then Kenneth Walker at 49. You got 3 guys that are definitely going to be the running back ones, right?
Yeah, I mean, with team three, I think if on paper I would have probably wanted to go wide receiver there because I don't think you need a running back after taking McCaffrey, but I think the value with Gibbs was just probably too good for him to pass up. So I certainly understand why he would have gone with Gibbs. I mean, I certainly like Deontay Johnson still being on the board for him there, but again, the value with Gibbs is probably just too good for him to pass up.
Yeah, definitely. All right, we're starting to see some quarterbacks going off the board now in round 5. We got Lamar Jackson and Justin Fields. I want to talk, Sigmund, about
Yeah.
Justin Herbert, if I could. I know he hasn't been selected yet. The guy was a bit of a disappointment last year, 22.6 points per game, fantasy points per game, but he's in an offense that hopefully will throw the ball a little bit more. Where are you ranking him among your quarterbacks? Is he in the Fields Jackson area?
I think that I would take him ahead of Fields in this 6-point pass touchdown
Hmm.
format. Certainly ahead of Fields, probably not ahead of Lamar Jackson, just because I think that Todd Monken is going to make that offense a lot more rational than it was with Greg Roman. You know, there was a point there, Lamar Jackson said it felt like the defense knew the play. And I think that they're not going to know the plays. And I think that you also have a much more robust set of pass catchers for Lamar Jackson. So we could see a return to that 2019 form. But speaking of offensive coordinator changes, Kellen Moore, he wasn't even really on the market, right?
Yeah.
Dallas said, hey, if you want to look for another job, oh, yeah, I'm going to look for another job. The Chargers want me. And that was that. And Joe Lombardi was not very well thought of around the league. And it really ended up going the way people expected with a dink and dunk offense. That's why it was real interesting also to see Mike Williams fall to the 5th round. Mike Williams was going around, what, the 3-4 turn last year, right, guys?
Yep.
So he drops a round and a half. We already know he's an injury risk, so we knew that going into last year too. But we also know that he's a player that can win your week for you with these big plays. Now, if this offense is going to throw downfield more often under Kellen Moore, I don't understand why Mike Williams' ADP is dropping. So I think that there's an opportunity to be had, as folks might not be factoring in yet, that this could be a lot more exciting Chargers offense.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm interested in Herbert now where he falls because he got 3 teams back here that already have a quarterback, so it'd be up to team 11 and 12. Herbert could be a heck of a value going forward. We'll see where he ends up going. Look at team 6 here, if you will. He has 5 wide receivers, so let's watch this. Again, in this format, you can start 5 wide receivers in a week. So very interesting build by team 6. We'll see how this plays out. And team 7, hey, start out with Cooper Kupp and Garrett Wilson. But then Josh Jacobs, Aaron Jones, Travis Etienne, that's pretty solid 3 running backs. So again, look at the roster builds here. I think it's interesting as each of these owners are trying to put together a winning team and doing it a lot of different ways, right, Tom?
Yeah, and Team 10 without a running back so far. So, 3 wide receivers, Mark Andrews and Joe Burrow. So, no running backs yet for him. So, yeah, very unique strategy so far for several teams in this draft so far. Again, that's what makes these drafts so much fun to watch is the roster construction with $350,000 on the line to see how these teams want to go. And again, this unique format that Football Guys is using with the additional flex, no kickers, makes it even more fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. So Herbert went 5-8 last week. We'll see where he ends up going here. If 11 and 12 don't take him, he's going to go a lot lower than 5-8. So interesting right there. But yeah, look at team 12 again. Tom, you and I talked about this on Wednesday night. You get that anchor running back, and then you just hammer those wide receivers. Do you like that, Sigmund? What
Yeah.
team 12 is doing?
Well, it's just interesting to contrast team 12 and team 6 because
Yeah.
what they both have 5 wide receivers. Okay. Team 12 has wide receivers, with the exception of Marquise Brown, that are all in Cortland Sutton. I mean, Marquise Brown and Cortland Sutton are enigmas. Keenan Allen, Debo Samuel, Devontae Adams are all in the back 9 of their career at this point. What I really like about what Team 6 did is after they took Tyreek Hill, you have players on the upslope of their career arc, like a Devontae Smith, Jerry Jeudy, a Drake London, and even a DJ Moore, because who exactly did DJ Moore have throwing the ball to him at Carolina that we should say, oh, because again, DJ Moore is a wide receiver. Guys, he was going in the 3rd round in some drafts, right?
Yep.
Who in Carolina made us say, well, that's a big downgrade to Justin Fields? I don't see it. So I think that this team 6 build, if you're looking for a team that not just can stand out in this league, but can stand out in the big field. When you have all these players that can take that next step in their career, and another reason I really like, just again, I don't want to I'm not wishing anything bad on anybody, but we saw with Juju Smith-Schuster that he didn't get the reception that we expected in free agency, and we come to find out after the fact, well, it's because his knee. He wasn't in OTAs. New England was already seeing he's not available in OTAs because of that knee. Maybe that's why they're hot and heavy for DeAndre Hopkins. Now, I'm not saying that A.J. Brown has the same kind of condition as Juju Smith-Schuster, but it's not hard to picture Devontae Smith being on the field for at least a handful of games with A.J. Brown missing time with an injury. So that, if that was the case with Devontae Smith, we're treating him like a first-round pick. So I love that upside. I think with Team 12, you're expecting some of these old guys to maintain at least, not fall off.
Yeah, DJ Moore is falling because anybody who had him last year is not touching him ever again. That's why. And I'm one of those guys. I had him last year. But, yeah, you know what? We got through 5 rounds in 20 minutes, guys. I mean, if you're watching this right now, these picks are just coming bing, bing, bing. And we're in June, and people know who they want already right now. So, Tom, these can go, like an hour and 20 minutes, some of our drafts are going, right?
Yeah, they absolutely can. I mean, honestly, I've watched these drafts. I mean, not football guys, but our roto wires in the past sometimes can go a little over an hour. I mean, guys can just make their picks. They know who they want,
Yep.
and it's a lot of fun to draft. But you know who you want, you make your pick, and away you go. So, not surprising that this one's flying along.
Yeah, definitely. All right, we got 2 quarterbacks coming off the board in round 6. Trevor Lawrence goes ahead of Justin Herbert. Again, last week Justin Herbert went 5-8. Trevor Lawrence went, I got it right here, 6-7. So right in that same area. But kind of surprising. J.K. Dobbins goes next. What's the thought there on J.K. Dobbins, Sigmund? I mean, he's kind of holding out now. Not so much of injury. We thought it was injury, but it's about contract, it sounds like, right?
Yeah, which I'm not really sure what the angle is there because he hasn't done anything to be able to have leverage on the team at this point. So, you had Todd Monken saying, "I've just come out here, want to run a wheel route, do something, get me excited." So he's not exactly getting himself in the coach's good graces here. They said that they expect him to be ready, but after the way things went, speaking about a player that was a nightmare to draft and hold last year, that was J.K. Dobbins. And again, there's optimism about this offense getting better, but I think that's going to keep his ADP low. I think if you were planning on having Dobbins as part of your build, this is the kind of development you were hoping for, and you hope he turns that into motivation to get, well, what's a good running back contract these days? Like $7 million a year? I don't know, but he's going to be playing for it this year.
Yeah, definitely. All right, round 6 is a lot of running backs here. James Conner, Dalvin Cook. We still don't know where Dalvin Cook is going. Hey, Sigmund, Dalvin Cook's still going ahead of Alexander Madison, isn't he?
Yeah. So, guys, I mean, put the question mark over my head here because it seems like Alexander Madison's ADP is not changing. And it sure seems strange for a running back who has been very consistent and productive. Anytime Dalvin Cook has missed time, the team committed to him, and they didn't make any plans. They knew that Dalvin Cook wasn't going to be on the team in 2023, and they didn't make any plans in the draft or free agency saying we have to bolster our running back room because we're going to turn to Alexander Madison. So I think this continues to be one where maybe you write it in pen that as long as this continues, you can take Alexander Madison in the 6th round. And guys, that's exactly the kind of second running back you can pair with an early Barkley or Bijan or someone like that and have production that matches the team's start running back.
Yeah, Madison went 7-8 last week. Cook actually went did he go before him or after? He went before him at 7-2 last week. So Cook still going ahead of Madison. We don't know where Cook's going to go, so it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, I'm surprised Madison hasn't moved up either. I think, Tom, you talked about this on our show that you kind of thought Madison would have moved up, right?
I'm with Sigmund. I'm just shocked by this. I mean, and again, this speaks to why drafting early can literally pay off for you because I think he's a value pick. I mean, I don't think Alexander Madison's a great running back, but I think he's a good running back who's going to get volume in this offense at least early in the year. We'll see how this plays itself out throughout the course of the season, but you're getting a starting running back who's probably getting 15 to 20 touches a game to begin the season deep into your draft right now. So he could be a RB1-ish, RB2-ish guy, and you're not paying that price right now for him. So draft right now, guys, because you're getting Alexander Madison at a discount price.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. CP the Goldfish says in our comments section, how can I draft with these guys?
Yeah.
Hey, easy enough, right? Go to playfootballguys.com. That's what you can do. Go to footballguyschampionship.com. You can find it there, and you can just sign up for the next one because we're going to be doing this all year long or all off season long. So come join us anytime you want. Again, footballguyschampionship.com. Footballguyschampionship.com. So very interesting. Hey, Mixon went in the third round. We didn't talk about that when he was up there, but seems pretty early for him, Sigmund, or
Yeah.
not.
Well, last year he was going around the 1-2 turn, no later than the mid-second. If anything, his situation structurally has gotten better because there's no Samaje Perine there to take away passing down snaps and create more of a committee. There's a lot of unproven backs. I mean, maybe Chase Brown is going to be the answer. Maybe the answer to the Bengals backfield, what do you do with it, is just draft Chase Brown late. But if not, I think Joe Mixon, even if you look at him as a running back that has 1 foot over the cliff, he's still being in the Bengals offense. He's going to collect touchdowns just by showing up on game days, right? So I think that while he was disappointing as a late first, early second round pick, as a mid third round pick, especially if he's your running back one, because again, sometimes running back position is just showing up and doing your job, not excelling. And I think that the Bengals obviously think he can do that this year.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, Alexander Madison goes 7-7. Again, he went 7-8 last week, so that's where he's going. We'll see where Cook goes each week, but right now Madison is in the 7th round. All right, Team 6 is a veteran NFFC player, a big-time player, and he's the one who waited on the running back. In fact, he took Trevor Lawrence's quarterback before his first running back. So his running back one is Isaiah Pacheco. So we'll watch this roster build again, but it's a very interesting one. In fact, we did talk to him on our show, and he said he does like the anchor running back and then hit the wide receivers. So his anchor, though, came in round 7. So interesting. All right. Alex P. Keaton in the comments says, I'm signing up to a FPG right now. This feels like taking candy from a baby. Come on, Alex, join us. In fact, we got drafts all summer long, and the grand prize is $350,000. I don't think any of these guys are babies, but come on, take some candy from a baby right now. All right, any roster builds, Tom, that you're looking at right now and kind of interested in? And in the comments, go ahead, folks, tell us which team do you like and which one you want us to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, again, Team 12 is the one jumping out right now with Barkley. We'll see what he does right here. He's on the clock. Barkley and then all wide receivers. I always like to see what the McCaffrey owner does because I think once you've got that stud running back, you don't really need to take another one after that. Again, I talked about Gibbs being the great value. He did take Swift, who I like a lot. So he kind of felt more inclined to go running backs than I probably would have. I understand the Gibbs pick. I love Swift, but maybe I wouldn't have gone that route. But so that's an interesting build. Team 6, of course, like you just talked about, his approach there. That's an interesting build as well. I really like what Team 1 is doing there. Kenneth Walker concerns me with the durability questions. I love Cam Akers. I'm a Cam Akers guy. I think everybody who follows me on Twitter or anything, they know that about me. So I like the build with him as well there as well.
Yeah, interesting. All right, Henry says the Kyle Pitts hate is strong with this group.
Yeah.
I was going to say that. What do you think, Sigmund?
Yeah, that's the name that was been on my mind for about the last 30 seconds, thinking who's going to jump in. I mean, this is ideal if you wait at tight end. It's okay if you get Kyle Pitts in the 8th round.
Yeah.
You have a chance to have someone that's going to rival everybody except Travis Kelce, and you didn't really compromise your team build to get him. So I think Pitts and Waller really stand out as the 2 tight ends who have a chance to be tight end 2 and head and shoulders above the pack. And I think getting them this late gives you a lot of flexibility in your team build. And I think Atlanta's offense, I'm no big fan of Desmond Ridder, but they have a lot of good structure around him. And they seem to be confident in him. So, this time last year, none of us would have said, Seattle's going to be fine. They've got Geno Smith, right? So you have to at least be open to these things when you're drafting. And that would make Kyle Pitts a steal.
Yeah, he went 6-1 last week, so we're in the 8th round and past the first pick there. So he's going at least 26, 27 picks lower than he did last week. All right, what is the starting roster format? Okay, this is 20 rounds. You start 10 each week. One running back or one quarterback, two running backs, three wide receivers, a tight end, two flex, and a team defense. No kickers in this one. No kickers. And the reason being, Sigmund, is you listen to
Yeah.
your players, right?
Yeah, and I think what makes no kickers a little bit more fun, and you could even go one step further, and maybe the fantasy football of the future will be no kickers and no defenses, is because of the kicker spot not taking up one spot on the roster, you're going to go a little bit deeper. I think one of the things this format is going to really reward is players that go a little bit deeper because you have to start more players with two flexes and three wide receivers because you have a 20 round draft and one of the spots isn't going to be taken up by a kicker. So there's those players that are always the hot waiver wire pickups after week one. And you have an extra round, you have an extra pick to take that player and have them on your roster before the week one waivers and make everybody hate you even more.
Yeah, definitely. All right, Tom, we're going to look at Team 12 again. As Brad Gilbert says, he should have taken Pitts on that turn. We were just talking about him, but
Yeah.
he didn't take a quarterback either. Now, there's 4 teams without a quarterback. There's no reason to panic on a quarterback as well. And there's no reason to panic on a tight end as well. But he had some interesting choices, and he went with Alvin Kamara upside as his RB2, I guess, if he doesn't get suspended for 8 or more games. And then Rashad Bateman, again, upside. He could be wide receiver 1 in that offense, right?
I'm okay with the Kamara pick. I mean, we all know what one there goes Pitts right there. We all know why Kamara's going where he's going. I'm okay with that pick. Hoping he only gets maybe 6 games and you get him for the back half of the season there. Um, I mean, I like Rashad Bateman just fine, but yeah, I mean, Kyle Pitts, like we just got done talking about, just falling way too far. That would have been my pick there to start off the round. I mean, that's a gift at this point to let him fall that far.
Yeah. So Rubio, we are not drafting. We are just commentating. We will get some drafters on our show in future shows, I think, because it's always good to talk to them as they're strategizing here and making picks. But no, the three of us are just commenting right now. I will say Team 7, who got Pitts at 8, what is it, 6, 8, 6, went heavy with running backs. And again, this is another very veteran player. So I love the build. He started out with Cup and Wilson, held off, got Tony. Now he's got Pitts. So, I mean, he does have 4 good pass catchers here, and he's got 4 running backs. We'll see what he does at quarterback, but it's a strong build, and having Pitts fall to him there at 8-6, I think was a heck of a steal there.
Yep.
So Zeke Elliott went at 8-4. Any insight there, Sigmund? And we don't even know where he's going to go, right?
Yeah, I mean, maybe in previous years that would have looked like a really good pick. I think even if he comes back to Dallas, he's not going to get the same kind of work at 1 million that he got at 12 million or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So stranger things have happened. I mean, look, I will say this: we can take any one of these drafts and we could go through and rate picks, and probably 30-40% of the picks we're going to be wrong. And maybe Ezekiel Elliott's one of them. It would take a few events for that to happen.
Yeah. All right. So Romeo Dobbs goes there at 8-11. So I love that one. We talked about him on the show on Wednesday, Tom, on our Sirius XM show. I thought he was a sleeper. His ADP is 128. Here he goes, right around 95, I believe it is. Dobbs, all the reports are that him and Jordan Love are working out in California. They've been throwing all offseason. They're going to throw again after this mini camp that was just done. So I think Dobbs is the way to go. Christian Watson, I like him an awful lot. He went 5-8, I believe. But Dobbs, if he was going at 128, is certainly a steal. But even here, I like the pick.
Yeah, I do too. And his ADP might start rising. So we may be entering the point where it's getting too late to call him a value pick because I think people may be catching on, no pun intended, to the fact that he's been going way too low. So if he starts rising up, you may be missing the opportunity to get Romeo Doubs at a value pick because I agree with you. I think Watson's being overdrafted. I've been sleeping on Doubs a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Through round 8 in 36 minutes, which is pretty darn good. So, again, these things cruise pretty good. We're looking at the teams through round 8. We've got 4 teams that still don't have a quarterback. Again, no panic time. But, yeah, Sigmund, what's your thought on quarterbacks? I mean, I think we talked about this last
Yeah.
week. If you can get the top guys at a good price, you would probably do it, right?
I think at a good price, right? And
Mhm.
I think the best way to approach quarterback, especially in a 6 point pass touchdown league like this. Now, remember, 6 point pass touchdowns actually tightens things a little bit where the running quarterbacks don't have quite the same edge
Mhm.
as they do. And you can look at quarterbacks that are efficient passing quarterbacks that don't add a lot as runners, guys like Jared Goff or Kirk Cousins, and they become a little more attractive picks. So I think the best approach to quarterback is you go through each round or almost each round and say, hey, if this quarterback falls, if I can get Allen or Hurts with my pick in the third, okay, I'll do it. If not, then I'll look for Lamar Jackson in the fifth. If he's not there in the fifth, then maybe I'm looking for Justin Fields in the fifth and the sixth and so on. And you'll find that actually you can say, what's my oh crap plan? Well, hey, if it's Anthony Richardson in the 10th and you pair him up with Geno Smith in the 11th, that's not that bad.
Right.
Again, in a 6 point pass touchdown league, I was just talking this week on my show. We were talking about Geno Smith with Daniel Harms. And this is a quarterback who finished as quarterback 6 last year. He adds a lot more rushing stats. Go look it up than you remember. And he's adding Jackson Smith and Jigba. And it's year 2 in Shane Waldron's offense. And this offense has a young offensive line, the bookends with the tackles. They're probably going to be getting even better. So if I can't get a value, I'm open to getting a value on any of the big names or the middle names. But if not, and I have to take the leftovers look pretty appealing.
Yep, I agree with you. Teaming up like Richardson with a veteran is not a bad way to go. That's for sure. All right, we had Bob Harris on our Sirius XM show on Wednesday night talking about running back backfields that are really tough to figure out in fantasy. And I look at Rashad Perry just went here at 9.2. DeAndre Swift went at 7.3. Are you trying to stay away from that Philadelphia backfield, or are you trying to figure out which one is going to take off? Because that's a loaded offense, obviously. You want a piece of that offense if you can, but that's a tough backfield to figure out, right?
Yeah, but at the same time, what do we know about that backfield? It's going to produce a ton of touchdowns,
Yep.
right? I mean, how many times did we have last year like an Oprah backfield? You get a touchdown, you get a touchdown, you get a touchdown. How many games did that happen last year? And that's with Jalen Hurts and the tush push. So I do think that again, and this is why spending more than one pick on a running back early. I mean, it'd be great to have one of these guys as your flex. Don't get me wrong, but I think the right thing to do is lock in one running back and then you throw darts in these later rounds and you just need one of them to hit. And when the backfield, when you know that the offense is that productive and creates, I don't even remember how many rushing touchdowns this offense created last year, but I know that if a running back's on the field for this Eagles offense, he has a decent shot at getting a touchdown on the ground.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's an interesting backfield, and there's plenty of backfields that are interesting. All right, in round 9, Team 10 was the first one to take a second quarterback. He's got Burrow and Tua, and then Team 11 took his first quarterback at Dak Prescott. Tom, you just tweeted out today that if you had the choice, and you were waiting this long into round 9, Dak would be a target for you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to wait on quarterbacks this year. I'm pretty much set on getting a top one in the earlier rounds, kind of like Sigmund was talking about. But if I'm going to wait, or if the plan got altered for whatever reason, the guy I want to get later is Dak. I mean, CD Lamb, Brandon Cooks, and a healthy Michael Gallup. That is crazy to me that he is falling where he's falling. In my opinion, he should be going right up here with Herbert and Trevor Lawrence. I mean, I think he's falling a couple of rounds too far. I mean, you can think what you want about Dak Prescott, but from a fantasy perspective, he puts up numbers. And I think he's going about 2 or 3 rounds too late in terms of his ADP right now. So, in terms of value, I think Dak Prescott is a great value. I think Team 11 has done a good job in terms of if it was his plan to wait on QBs, I think he did very well tonight.
Yeah, Team 12 is going to wait even longer on QBs because he went Khalil Herbert and Zach Charbonneau with his picks in rounds 9 and 10. So he's going to wait a while on a QB. He's not panicking there. Charbonneau goes at 10-1. Kenneth Walker went at 5-1. So 5 full rounds, 60 picks difference between those two as they share the backfield in Seattle. Well, they don't actually share it. I mean, it's Kenneth Walker's until he gets hurt, but there you go. And then here in round 10, Brian Robinson goes at 10-2 and Antonio Gibson goes at 10-3. Sigmund, can both of those guys be fantasy productive this year?
It's a stretch. It's a stretch because what do we have? The hot Sam Howell, Jacoby Brissett quarterback battle. I mean, we all want to see Eric Bieniemy do well, and the first year that the offense is really his. He's out of Andy Reid's shadow, and I do think that whether it's Curtis Samuel or Antonio Gibson, we should look for some creative use of a player in this offense. So I think we're looking for maybe one of these players to hit. And I do think Antonio Gibson, I'm surprised to see Robinson go ahead of Gibson because we kind of know what Brian Robinson is, right? I mean, he's going to be the guy that in wins, he's going to be a good play. As the offense is functional, you have a reasonable chance at having that flex level running back 2 level play out of him. Antonio Gibson, we're already getting some signs that Eric Bieniemy might be open to doing more with him. He's excited. Antonio Gibson said he's excited about this. We've seen how dynamic a player Antonio Gibson can be when he's used the right way. And by that, I mean in space, as a receiver, not as somebody to slam it between the tackles 20 times a game. Now, the other thing that we have to watch here is it sounds like there's at least some interest between Washington and Kareem Hunt. So I don't know if that would just blow all this up. But if Antonio Gibson, and again, guys, where was Antonio Gibson going when we thought he was the unquestioned leader of this backfield, right? He was going a lot higher in drafts. And with a new offensive coordinator who could reshuffle the backfield based on how he sees these backs, I like Gibson as a 10th round pick a lot more than Robinson.
Yeah, I mean, Robinson is TD dependent, no doubt about that. Gibson, man, he could get 50 plus receptions this year. And I like Gibson as well. I had him last year. Did he disappoint? Well, wasn't consistent enough, that's for sure. But there's upside there. All right, Team 7 takes a quarterback. So we got 11 quarterbacks off the board right now. Team 10 is the only one with 2. But Team 2 and Team 12 still waiting for one. And like Sigmund said before, Richardson's out there, Geno's out there, Rodgers is out there. There's no panic going on right now in the quarterbacks, but in this scoring system, it is 6 points per passing touchdown. So keep that in mind. Again, Team 6, we talked about his starting out with 5 wide receivers, hit the running backs hard. I think he's going to hit it hard the rest of the way here too, but Pacheco, Damian Harris, and A.J. Dillon. I mean, talk about TD dependent, that's Dillon. They've been working on him a lot this offseason and hoping that he can have a big year this year. He's going to be, I think, a free agent next year, or at least off his rookie contract next year. So Dillon's got a lot to prove. We'll see if he does prove it, though. 10-11, Kendre Miller went to Team 2. Tom, we talked about the New Orleans backfield last night, and that's still, we don't know what's going to happen with Kamara, but Kendre Miller is a guy that has a lot of upside.
Yeah, and obviously if Kamara does get suspended, which we all assume he will, then we see what happens with him, with Miller, and with Jamal Williams. We know what Jamal Williams is, right? I mean, he's not a supremely talented guy, but he's functional. He's a guy that coaches love, right? He runs every play. He will know every offense that he's in. He will not make mistakes. Coaches love that about him. So, but Kendre Miller, I think, is the guy that the Saints are intrigued with. So if he can pick things up quickly, he could be the guy that makes more dynamic plays, because Jamal Williams is not a dynamic playmaker by any stretch of the imagination. So it'll be very interesting to see how quickly Miller can pick things up once camp begins next month.
Yeah. So Geb says, I want that Seattle pie.
Yeah.
Geb, what about you, Sigmund? You want a piece of that? Yeah.
Yeah. And I was telling Gebs, what's up, Gebs? I love cornering that backfield. We know this team is good at running the ball. We know they're committed to running the ball. Charbonnet, even though he's going to be the number 2, he's going to be more on the field in passing downs. So it's not a stretch to think that, speaking of the Saints, Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram in the same backfield were both worth picks in the first 3 rounds, right? It's not a stretch to see, maybe not quite that level for Charbonnet and Walker, but they're both good running backs. They're both young running backs. This is an offense on the rise. It's going to be a very productive offense. So Charbonnet, I think, is the slam dunk, right? Because Charbonnet is going to give you that Kenneth Walker injury upside, like Tom was saying. With Walker, durability is a question. But I even think with Walker, if we said Kenneth Walker is going to play 15 games, third round pick. He's a third
Yep.
round pick. Right. So maybe the injury skepticism about Walker's gone a little too far. One way or the other, there should be one of these two backs, if these ADPs hold, that you should be targeting.
Yeah. A lot to have in that backfield for sure. All right. Team 2 took a quarterback. So team 12 is the only one who hasn't taken a quarterback. Anthony Richardson is not off the board. He's been going QB 10 in a lot of drafts. So he's still out there. Doesn't mean that someone before him won't take him, but he's still out there. Team 2 with Deshaun Watson. You talked about it last week, Sigmund. You're kind of high on him. You think there is some upside here with Deshaun Watson in
well,
your
theoretically, and guys, I think you can see this, right? If you decide to wait at quarterback, even in a 6-point pass touchdown league, the league can't punish you for that. I mean, you're hurting your own team if you're taking a second quarterback. I don't want to. I mean, Tua Tagovailoa does have, if he can stay healthy in that Miami offense, the upside. But I just think if you take a second quarterback after you take an early quarterback, you're limiting how strong your eventual build can be. But even with one team taking a second quarterback, the last team without a quarterback taking the tank to E has plenty of choices, and it's much easier to double up on quarterback. And we're talking about the 11th, 12th, 13th round when you're not foregoing one of your favorite wide receivers, tight ends, running backs. So one of the things I get out of this, and again, I appreciate everybody coming out to join us, and I think this is a wonderful exercise just to watch the draft and think, well, that surprised me. Well, if I was in a draft that went that way, I would be really excited, or I would be despondent because my build's just not going to work. I think you can wait at quarterback, even though quarterbacks are going earlier than ever, and there's just no way the league can hurt you because if Russell Wilson's your guy, like some of these quarterbacks, there's at least 4, I think, between Richardson, Smith, Wilson, and Aaron Rodgers that have the ability to hit at least the top 6 or top 8. And if you can put together a committee, you can start to look at the schedules and you can start to target matchups. Some of these quarterbacks, like, hey, Geno Smith is going to get the Rams twice and the Cardinals twice. Wow. And you start to put schedules together like Chase Stewart used to do at Footballguys, the classic quarterback by committee. You could probably put together a committee that can finish in the top 5 in quarterback scoring.
Yeah, it's very interesting because that's all we talk about these days is you got to get a top quarterback going in the first, the second, the third round. Boy, I want one of those guys. As I sit here right now, I want team 12. I want to sit here right now and I want to bang these next 2 quarterbacks. I'm telling you, I love the build here. And I know all the people in the comments right now are saying, I wish I was in this draft. I wish I was in this draft. I know I would have taken him right here. I would have taken him right here, and I would have put together a winning roster. Well, again, we're going to be doing this all summer long. So hopefully you have time yet to get this build. So we're going to stick around through round 13. We won't go all the way through, but again, this is just a preview of what we're going to be having this summer on the Football Guys YouTube channel. We'll get different people on here, different commentators, and again, maybe we'll even get some guys in who are drafting, but we want to show you what people are doing when they put their money where their mouth is. And here we go. Rodgers is the first one. So I'm predicting Anthony Richardson right here. I'm just going to predict it. I think that would just be a veteran and an upside guy would be the way to go here with Team 12. But thoughts on Rodgers, Sigmund? You can't get any thoughts from us. I got a Packer hat on. Tom loves and hates Aaron Rodgers in the same breath, so we're going to let you talk about Rodgers. What is he going to do? What are your projections for Rodgers in New York?
Well, I don't think we can look at that pass offense last year. Well, there was a point when with Mike White, et cetera, they were throwing the ball like 40 plus times a game. I don't think we're going to see that. But I do think you're going to see potential for Aaron Rodgers to be a lot more efficient than he was with Matt LaFleur. Obviously, you have to like that he has Garrett Wilson and he got Alan Lazard, he got Randall Cobb over there. Hopefully, what happens with Aaron Rodgers is something in him just exhales, right? Doesn't it feel like, I mean, y'all are up there in Wisconsin, doesn't it just feel like he was tight? He was really, really uptight the last few years. And even though he was sticking around, it wasn't a happy place for him. Maybe this can be better for him. He does seem like he's taking to New York, right? It seems like he's taken to being on everybody's camera rolls and appearing in public with everybody. So maybe he relaxes and gets back to the player he was when he was out there freewheeling. So, I mean, at this price, again, like you said, I want to be Team 12. I want to be the team. Again, going through this draft, if you're doing this exercise, you think, wow, not taking a quarterback in the first 10, 11 rounds feels really good. That gives you the drop on the rest of your league.
Yeah. And so he didn't go back-to-back quarterbacks, but he did need a tight end as well and got Dalton Schultz. Tom, what are your thoughts of Schultz and Houston for this year?
I like the landing spot for him. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, he should be, a little more available for targets than he was in Dallas, where he had to fight a little bit for some target share there. Obviously with CD Lamb and other receivers, but I think there's more potential for him to get targets. If you're going to wait on tight ends, that's a pretty good. I mean, I like Chig as well. I'm
Yeah.
not going to try to pronounce that last name. I
Yeah.
like both those guys quite a bit. Again, if you're waiting on tight ends and you don't get somebody, I love the Fryermuth pick a couple of rounds earlier. So again, if you're not getting those top tier guys and you kind of miss out on the third tier guys, I think Schultz and Chig are pretty good options back here in the later rounds or mid rounds.
Yeah, like we said, Pitts was a bargain at
Yeah.
8-6. So, there is some value to be had in tight ends. Again, tight ends you can take early. Kelsey, Andrews, Hawkinson, no one's going to argue you take them in the first 4 rounds. But I think there are some values here at the end of the mid rounds as well, if you will. So, a lot of interesting ways to build here. So, all right. I did want to say Gibbs had said that he thought Rodgers was washed up. Permar 99 says Rodgers back-to-back MVP years. Hurt last year, now shows up early, all in. There's no doubt he's all in with New York right now. He did not stay 4 months of the offseason in Green Bay last year. I wish he would have to work with Watson and Dobbs, but he did not. There was friction between whether it's him and LaFleur. Obviously, it was between him and Goody, the GM, but he had fun here. He just played like crap. And he may have had been hurt last year, but he played like crap. I was at games last year at Lambeau Field. He played like crap. He was terrible in the Jets game. But again, that was right after the Giants game where he may have gotten hurt. Then he should have sat out, but he didn't want Love to get any playing time. That's the bottom line, folks. He didn't want Love getting in there and balling out like Rodgers did in his third year. So, all right. So we're getting close here to the end.
Mm.
We want to thank everyone for joining us here. Sigmund, great being with you again.
Yeah.
This draft cruised. I mean, we're not even an hour into it, and we're going to be through round 12 into 13. So awesome time. Let's do it again next week. But everyone, again, go to footballguyschampionship.com. Be part of the community. This is going to be a hell of a community. We're hosting live events out at Park MGM in Las Vegas. We invite you all to come on out there as well. Yes, play the online championship here, Football Guys Championship, but man, live events is going to be so great. So we thank Sigmund. We thank Joe Bryant for making us part of the family as well. This has been a lot of fun. So, Sigmund, any final comments on what you've seen tonight and what we're going to see going forward?
Yeah, well, you mentioned how fast these drafts go by, and I think again, if you're watching this in real time and it doesn't throw you, but it actually makes you feel like this is the time I want to draft because I'm going to be able to, while everyone's recovering and these builds. I think that you have to look at some of these builds. I love what Team 6 has done taking Tank Bigsby and Tyjae Spears, right? That's exactly the kind of running backs that when you don't take a running back in the first 5 picks, you can put together these dream teams now. You might not be able to do it in August, so now's the time to get in.
Yeah, definitely. And again, look at all the different roster builds. I mean, it's just unreal. Team 6 starting out with 5 wide receivers, then hitting 5 running backs later. Team 12 getting that anchor with Saquon Barkley, then 5 wide receivers right after that. Other teams taking a quarterback in the second round. It's so many different ways you can build a winning team this year. So it's just going to be a lot of fun this year. And we're drafting every night at footballguyschampionship.com. Tom, final comments from you as we head into round 13 here.
Yeah, I just want to echo what you guys have been saying. This is going to be a fun contest. We're, like you said, we got drafts going on every single day. If you like what you saw here tonight, dive on in at footballguyschampionship.com. Entry fee is $350. We got package discounts as well if you want to take multiple teams. Again, it's going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully, Sigmund can come out and join us at our live events at Park MGM. And it's going to be a great, great year for all of us. And like you said, we want to thank Joe Bryan as well for bringing us into the Football Guys family. And just can't wait to do more of these live streams and show people what we're going to be doing all year long with the NFFC and Football Guys as well. And so, folks, again, footballguyschampionship.com. Sign up, play, because it's going to be a great year. And you can win this $350,000 grand prize.
Yeah, and again, league playoffs are weeks 15, 16, and 17. They're not in weeks 13 and 14 when they're bye weeks. That's a big play for a lot of you guys that have played the other contests that Football Guys was involved with. The league playoffs in weeks 15, 16, and 17 is huge because if you dominate all regular season, you don't want to lose out in a 1 week playoff, and that's not going to happen in this format because if you dominated, you had most points through week 14, you get a bye into week 16. You don't lose in the 1 week playoff there. So great format here. So join us again. But Sigmund, if you come to Las Vegas, you must know that there's a lot of beer consumed out there
Yeah.
between me and Tom, just so you know, okay?
Well, that's when what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. So
Absolutely.
a lot of that beer will stay in Vegas.
But we're Wisconsin guys, so we
Of
have
course.
to drink beer.
I'm Western Pennsylvania. When they do those maps of alcohol consumption per capita, Wisconsin and Western Pennsylvania glow pretty much the same color.
Yeah, we're usually number one in that list.
Yeah.
I know that much. But all right. Well, thank you everyone for being here. Thank you to footballguys.com. We're going to have a great year this year. So come join us and draft a winning team by your own next time. All right. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Boom, right on the 1 hour.